All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Trends in Fruit, beer, seltzers, and RTDs. So over this panel, we will be discussing the upwards trend of fruit in beer and seltzers, especially with RTDs on the rise. We'll also be looking at how we can achieve what's popular in our respective markets, how we go about making fruited styles, and techniques used to blend and correct flavor profiles. I just read that. Everybody can read, so we're good there. I first just want to thank Craft Beer Professionals, and I want to thank Andrew over there for putting up this panel fest. There's some good information with these. I've watched quite a few of them. So if you haven't watched them, watch them from this year, watch them from last year. Just go back. They're on the internet forever. So you should be able to get to that. I'll introduce myself. I'm Spencer. I am currently the production manager for Lock 27 Brewing in Dayton, Ohio. If you don't know me from the Ohio beer scene, you may recognize my face. I am the social media superstar for Aseptic Fruit Purees. I'm the face. I am the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know if they consider me that, but I'm going to go with that. So we're here to talk about fruit. That's what I want. I'm a fruit connoisseur myself. I drink a lot of fruit beers. Lately, a lot of seltzers. I drink a hefty amount of seltzers, so that's all good. I was fortunate enough to choose my panel. Everybody here, I asked specifically. I know y'all are all doing great things in this community, elevating beer as a whole. I do know a couple of you personally. The others I just invited because I have respect for what you're accomplishing. Everybody here has different levels of experience. Each brewery is a completely different size, and each of you is supplying a different market. I think everyone's going to have a different answer and a way of thinking for every topic, and that's going to be great for this conversation. I don't think I could ask for a better group. I'm hella excited about this. So we'll go on. That's enough about me. I could make a whole panel just about myself, maybe next year. But we'll start with y'all's introductions. We'll just start. I think everybody's in the same order on everybody's screen. So we'll just start top row and then go down to Aaron. So start with Zach. Just say like who you are, where you're located, like your market size, like how big of a brewery you're at, and we'll just go from there.
Sure. Hi, I'm Zach. We're Abjuration Brewing, a little brewery outside of right outside of Pittsburgh. So we're like currently like a 3.5 barrel system. We have like 12 different fermenters. So we just try and like churn through different stuff, and we're pretty local to like the Allegheny County, which is the county like within and surrounding Pittsburgh. So not too big of like a footprint, but yeah, it's a fun system to goof around on. So
nice. And Garrett.
I'm Garrett Hickey, Streetside Brewery in Cincinnati, just south of Spencer and Dayton. We are on a 15-barrel system, couple 15s, couple 30s. Actually, not just a couple 15s. More 15s than a couple. 2 30s though. I guess that's pretty much what you asked. We're in Hamilton County, which is fairly largish county in southern Ohio, southwest Ohio. We've got tri-state area of Indiana, southeastern Indiana, southwest Ohio, northern Kentucky. It's like 1.1 million people, something like that. So we have a fairly large market around us, but there's also like 65, 70 breweries in Cincinnati itself. So it's a crowded marketplace, but we try to distinguish ourselves with some of the different things. Bunch of New Englands, bunch of kettle sours. So that's Streetside.
Sam?
Hi, my name's Sam Green. I'm the head brewer or brewmaster for Untitled Art. We are located in outside of Madison, Wisconsin, in Wanakee. Untitled Art is contract brews for a place called, or under a place called Octopi Brewing, and that's a very large brewery. They have a 50-barrel brew house and a 100-barrel brew house, and we make all sorts of stuff, smoothie seltzers, regular seltzers, Berliner Weisses, my dog's barking, pastry stouts. Anything that's hot, we try to replicate or emulate. So.
And Aaron.
Yeah, hi, my name's Aaron Bootson. I'm the production manager at Monday Night Brewing in Atlanta, Georgia. I think you would call us a mid-sized brewery. We distribute heavily all throughout the state of Georgia, but also in Tennessee, Alabama, and we're expanding to North Carolina. So just a regional focus. Try not to spread out too far where we can't control the product or the message, that kind of thing. And yeah, like the rest of you, I think we make everything. So big focus on IPAs. One of our biggest sellers is a blood orange IPA, but also we do seltzers, a lot of hazy IPAs, barrel-aged stouts, and I'm sipping on our Mexican lager right now. So
Nice.
We try to do a bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I had your Mexican lager maybe a month ago. I was in Nashville and had that.
Okay.
It was pretty solid. I think y'all just won
Good to hear it.
QBF on that, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Proud home a medal, so we can keep making it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about fruit. Everybody here has fruited beers or fruited other products on tap. I checked all your tap lists online or on Instagram, and not just one, but multiple. Everybody here has multiple fruit beers or fruit seltzers or RTDs on your tap list, and so that shows me that like the demand is there. I know in my market in Dayton, it's still rising a bit, and I know on other places it's maybe settled quite a bit. But I'm definitely using fruit more frequently now than before. I see, especially as Gen Z is more able to drink, the trend of fruit, the trend of seltzers, the trend of RTDs, those are going up. So is everybody here finding that the same? Is fruit still on the rise in your markets? Are you seeing it settle? Do you think it's going to go way higher? Like, how do we see this as this new generation is coming into our community, into our market? And we can start with you, Zach.
Sure. I think that I don't know, being like so small, there's kind of like an immediate like effect of like, oh, did we sell out of this beer in like 2, 3, like 4 weeks, whatever. Like that's like a popular like beer right now. Like, is that something throughout kind of like the portfolio? And I think that we, I guess, have seen like fruit like level off, just like as like making like a fruited beer with like 1, 2, maybe even like 3 fruits and like an extra like adjunct, but definitely like trying to like push like the ante with like fruit. And now like a bunch of breweries are using like ice cream, like we use ice cream, and then like adjuncts on top of that. Like fruit, I guess, is like no longer just like cool enough on its own, at least in our experience. Like it has to be like paired with other stuff and then elevated or combined like in a way, and that like seems to like still be very popular. But if we were just to put out like a 2 different fruited sour, like we'd probably sit on it for a little while.
Yeah, I'm definitely finding the same. I mean, we just did a cranberry beer, but it's got a lot of spices and stuff like that in it that like it was needed, because just a cranberry blonde ale is not going to sell in this, in this market. What about you, Garrett?
So it was interesting that we did this panel because we've kind of been complaining this year that fruit sours are our main thing. And thus far, what we've seen this year is that package sales of fruited sours has fallen off dramatically. We say we used to package 100 cases of a fruit sour, just have a couple kegs. Now we're cutting that about in half. We're getting down to even like less than maybe 45% of that. Draft is still doing great. We're still selling a ton of fruit kettle sour draft. We started experimenting a little bit more with slushies this year, or however you want to call it, smoothie, slushy, whatever. We have like a rotating series where we've been doing just different variations. We did like a strawberry daiquiri, we did mango coconut marshmallow, and we did Miami Vice. And those all sold really well, but it is one of those things where like we want to move through it quickly, so we don't make a whole lot of it. We have a draft only event right now going on, smoothie sour, 12 beers of Christmas. So we've got 12 different smoothies on draft for the next 12 days. We just started yesterday. All that's going great. It's just the I don't want to complain, but I'll complain a little bit. The package sales have not done as well as we were doing 2020 and 2021.
Gotcha. Do you think, and I don't know about the rest of you, do you think that has to do with maybe more people are getting out? Because 2020 and 2021, I think we all saw package sales go up just because everybody was kind of stuck at home. Is your tap room kind of the same, or are you just getting more people in your tap room? Do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the other thing is I don't want to say that pallets are maturing a little bit, but like I think the market in and of itself is moving on to different things. We've had more success selling like a standard pale ale or a lager or a West Coast IPA than we have selling 12 New Englands and 12 kettle sours, which is nice for us. I mean, we're happy doing that, but I think it's just kind of like a maturation of the market moving on from just wanting New Englands and kettle sours to wanting some craft lagers and some more, I don't want to say basic, but basic West Coast IPAs.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you're seeing this, like what you're saying, this maturity or this post-enlightenment or renaissance of everybody was going gung-ho about all these different kind of beers and putting fruit in everything, and there was this enjoyment in all of it, and oh my god, have you had this one, and now you're seeing customer saturation where they've just had so much of it that they've kind of had enough. So it's now it needs to be a really, really well done or really, really unique fruit beer instead of just this kind of we can put fruit in anything and sell it and do well. Now you need to be more targeted, I believe.
For sure. And Sam, like you're going to be a little bit different because you're producing. I know y'all have like your Florida seltzers, and I know y'all are doing like the wine spritz line and stuff like that. So, like I feel like you have a whole other part of your company there that's basically you have to add fruit. I mean, nobody's releasing like unfruited seltzers. You know?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we locked ourselves into this corner where we were known for getting kind of zany with the stuff, and now it's the expectations. So we released a bunch of the seltzers, the Florida seltzers, which were a typical, you'll say like a Truly or a White Claw, but with a lot of real fruit in it, and that was really well received. And then the demand was like, okay, but what's next? So we just got weirder and weirder fruits, and we kind of walked ourselves into a corner and like we're out of fruits. so now we got to go back and think, well, which kind of fruits pair well with what now? So
right. Do you think you'll go back to kind of your traditional seltzers, like your traditional kind of flavors, like White Claw flavors?
Yeah. Specifically for the brewery, like we did a lot of a la mode stuff or like smoothie beers, and as Garrett was kind of saying, these West Coast and these Pilsners are getting a new kind of breath in them, and those are a little bit overtaking, and people want to, what we're seeing, I guess, is people want to go back to some simplicity in drinking. So.
Right. And Aaron, how about you? Y'all are producing a good seltzer out your way too. How is your fruit looking? Like, are you seeing it still on the rise, or is it kind
I
of?
mean, yeah, I would say everything that everyone else already said, but to expound on that a little bit, I think fruit's always going to be a part of our portfolio, our beers in one way or another. I mentioned the Blood Orange IPA. Sales of that are actually starting to taper off a little bit. It's been this old standby for us. And it's hard to say whether that's because of the fruit or because it's kind of a caramely, like somewhat old school IPA, and maybe tastes are just shifting away from that. But at the same time, we have a kettle sour with blackberry and lemon as part of our core portfolio, and sales of that are just through the roof. Like, we can hardly keep up with that, especially in Tennessee and Nashville. We're selling tons of that beer. So I definitely don't see that going away anytime soon. There's certainly a level of, maturing palates, changing palates. I think that a lot of beer drinkers are becoming more like us, where they don't always want to drink the same thing all the time, get the same six pack every single week. So, it's just about being flexible and kind of adapting. We'll always be using different fruits in our sour and wild series. And I expect that there will always be something in our core portfolio with some kind of fruit addition or backing to it. As far as seltzers, those were probably due to more package sales and less people drinking outside of the house. In 2021, summer of 2021, our best-selling brand was our Narwater, our seltzers with real fruit. And after that, I mean, this summer sales on that were way down. So It's just kind of adapting. We stopped making as much of that. We leaned more heavily into some other brands. So, we're seeing a little bit of it in both directions, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Let's see here. So Aaron, you mentioned your Narwater is all real fruit. Is that fruit purees? I'm assuming.
Yes.
I know. Just based off like how much I think you're producing, I would say it's probably puree and not like real fruit. Are you using real fruits like whole fruit in any of your beers right now, or is it mainly puree, or are you using an extract? Is it a combination of things?
So as far as real fruit goes, most of our batches from the main brewery, like anything that's going to go into cans, it's just the labor and the risk involved with using like whole real fruit in those products has been prohibitive. We use real whole fruit in a lot of our beers on the sour barrel aged side. Do a lot of our cool kind of artistic hand crafted fruit beers that way. But on the larger scale, we're using a lot of fruit purees. We use fruit juice concentrate, which we found to be really effective for large batches. You can mix a smaller amount with hot, sterile water. You can cool it down and punch it into the larger batch. And we've experimented with using some natural flavors to kind of complement the top note of some of those beers. It was really a big contentious step for us, but it kind of made sense in terms of preserving the flavor and the aroma that we were going for, and kind of helping those things pop in a more cost-effective and predictable way without just piling on a bunch more fruit, which would involve piling on a bunch more sugar and then trying to balance those things out. So yeah, we've used a little bit of everything. Larger batches is usually puree or fruit juice concentrate.
Right. Yeah, I just a little side thing for me. It's interesting. A lot of people do shy away from extracts, and I'm not saying use them like completely. I think real fruit definitely has its flavor, but as you said, like using the extract kind of uplifts the flavor. But I was in Georgia for a while. When I was there, I found we had switched from all extract to all fruit, and then we found people didn't like it because it didn't have like a fake fruit flavor for something. So then it was kind of like, okay, we'll use mostly real fruit and then just like a hint of extract, and like especially certain flavors I find like peach or something like that, like people want that fake peachy, like peach ring candy taste for whatever reason. I know none of us want that, but like consumers do. And so I do find that like using a little bit of extract's okay, but it's funny to talk to people because they will shy away from it and they'll apologize and be like, I'm sorry, we do use like just a little bit.
Yeah, we look at it. It's just part of the toolbox, and if we're making a product that we're proud of, that we really like the flavor and the aroma, then I have no qualms about it.
Right.
If we're not selling it as something it's not, so yeah, it's one of those tools we can use to kind of produce the desired end result.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Sam? Like I think your cans actually say ingredients on it. So
we're in quite a few states and quite a few countries, so we have a lot of governmental bodies involved, and pretty much everything that Aaron's saying we're echoing is like it's a good harmonious relationship of the two. So you try to get as forward as you can with the fruit, but sometimes you just can't get that extra little bump in there, so then you come in with some extracts. And since we just label everything, so like we ran into this issue a lot with vanilla, and everyone was giving us flack for putting it's made with natural and artificial flavors. It's like, well, we're not going to buy $15,000 worth of vanilla beans and hand scrape the beans out, and I kind of made the argument with a coworker. I was like, well, when your grandma makes like cookies, it's okay to use like a bean, but if you're making like 10,000 sheets of cookies, you're going to graduate off of the bean and you're looking for a vanilla extract. So we're not shy about using them. Obviously the preference is always to get the flavor from the real fruit or the real ingredient, but sometimes it's not always in the cards. So
yeah. And how about you, Garrett? Like are you using combination of everything, or do you prefer one thing over the other?
So we mostly use puree. We're of the size where like we can get, we don't have to worry about like having we don't have to worry about governmental regulations as much as the other guys do. If you're going across state lines, we also are, we just don't have because we're smaller, we can use less boxes. Like we're not buying 100 boxes of pineapple puree. Excuse me. But we use extract every once in a while. We haven't used whole fruit since we discontinued our barrel aged sour. That was just like I think we used it once, maybe twice on some barrel aged stuff, but it was we've moved to puree exclusively for the most part, except for like one or two juices, mostly for repeatability. And also we try to source it from the same place every time so that we know what we're getting. Every once in a while that doesn't work out. But yeah, I was just thinking we're about to bring back a white peach New England, and what you guys are saying rings true, because if you, not to put too much stock in the Untapped ratings, but the most common complaint is it's not peachy enough, and peach is like one of those ones that is nearly impossible to get the right fruit and the right taste of peach. So throwing a little peach extract just never hurt anybody. So
and Zach, what about y'all? Like what forms of fruit are y'all using up there?
Sure. So we'll definitely use kind of like anything anything needed to get the job done. Recently we've been like playing around with like I like to call it like pastry fruit. So it's like frozen it is like it's like not cooked or like anything like like fresh like frozen. I forget the company who makes it, but yeah, it's like what they would use for like different like pastry fillings and stuff. If like the beer like calls for it, and that just like been like super expressive. But in terms of like extract and stuff, it's definitely like a small like layering component. And it's kind of just whatever we feel like the beer needs to taste like when it's in like the customer's like mind. Like if you like say you're releasing like a pie beer, like it needs to taste like pie, and like a blueberry pie beer like needs like a little bit of like blueberry extract, like it needs like a little bit of like these building flavors. You can't just put like blueberry, because like what blueberry and what blueberry pie tastes like are like two completely different things. So like in order for you to like complete your end of like the deal and like putting this out, like it has to taste like a certain way, and there are ways to do that, but you have to be, I guess, upfront about them, and like part of that's like extra. So
Right. So how are y'all, I guess, how are you choosing your fruits? How are you choosing the beer? Like, what is your process from going, okay, we need a fruit beer on, and then what's the style, what's the fruit, what's the combination of flavors? Are you going off of like what's on your tap list? Because sometimes I do that too, where like, oh, we only have one fruit beer on, like we're gonna need another one, or this one's running low, we're gonna need something else. Or are you just kind of, oh, this sounds fun, or even like, is it seasonally? Like I know sometimes there's certain fruits, like we just made a cranberry beer, but like that's just because that's the season. So you got to have something like that. Like, and we can start with you, Zach. Like, how are you choosing that whole process?
Sure. I mean, there's definitely you have to like balance like your tap list. I think we try and keep like 3, 4, 5 like different like fruited beers like on tap. And then in terms of like choosing fruit, we definitely get to, because of like our small size, we get to be like a little more impulsive. If there's like something that interests me, or something that's like seasonal that we see like down the line, it's a lot easier for us to grab like the necessary amount for like a 3.5 barrels it is to even like like a 15 or 20 barrel. And then speaking up to like going nationwide, like there's a ton of planning that goes out that we're like pretty flexible and don't have to worry about as much. And then just trying to see like how many different layers of that like fruit you could like feasibly like pack in there, and then like I said, like sourcing the market. But at our size, like it's a lot more kind of just like impulsive, I guess, which is like fun in a way, but you definitely can get like burned on the other end. So
yeah, like is there can you name anything specific where like that's gone wrong, where you're like, oh, I really want this, and then you get it and then it just like doesn't work out? Or do you just turn it into something else? Or like
I think like I was like, oh, I want to make like a gumball beer with like gumball and Meyer lemons and like marshmallow. Or no, I'm not sorry, like bubblegum, yeah, gumball bubblegum. And that was like very weirdly received between like people who were like, what is this? Like there's not enough like this tastes too much like a weird bubblegum, and people were like, this needs more like gum in here. And I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Like, divisive feedback, so I guess we'll probably just table this forever.
Start chewing.
Yeah. Cool. And then how about you, Garrett? How's street side, like what is your process for making like a fruited beer?
I mean, we're still pretty impulsive. We'll kind of like throw stuff out there that is just like, I don't know, if we have the desire to do it, like, and we think it'll sell, then we'll make it. I'm trying to think of like something that we've done recently that was probably ill-advised. I don't know. It's been a minute since we did anything too dumb. But we'll like a lot of times when we're not being impulsive, we'll look at the tap list. We'll say, all right, we've got like a strawberry beer and we've got a whatever guava beer on. Like, let's not do a stone fruit. Let's not do a berry. Let's try to do like maybe a combination of something. We try not to throw on like 2 raspberry beers at the same time, or 2 strawberry beers, or 2 like whatever. Anything. Like, we try not to go too heavy on one fruit. And that, like, I say that, and right now we've got like 3 raspberry beers on. So it's kind of hit or miss on our success of doing that. And a lot of times, like we found that at least in the past, the past couple of years, tropical fruits tend to do better for us. Your stone fruit, like guava, or I don't even know if guava, I say stone fruit, like guava is one. I don't even know. I just say it. It's just a buzzword for me right now. Like guava, papaya, that kind of stuff really goes off. We also, like, if we're trying to make a beer, we'll like try desserts or try to theme it around a dessert. So we just did a beer called Two Princes, which is like caramelized pineapple, where we used a little brown sugar extract, a little amaretto extract, and then we did a shitload of pineapple. So that one, it started as like a slushy, and we just made it production size. It's no longer a slushy because we couldn't put that much pineapple in. But that's something that we'll do a lot, where we'll try to theme it around something either that we've already done on a smaller scale, or like a dessert, or like something that we've had in the past that we're trying to replicate.
Right. I find I sometimes get into that same bind of like not trying to use similar fruits, but then I found recently, for whatever reason, I've been making a lot of pink beers, and so you're like, I know we have like 3 different fruits, but they're all pink, and so you kind of have to like try to navigate around that even, because it all looks the same, so in people's minds it tastes the same. Well, if you're impulsive too, has that burned you in the past at any point?
Yeah, kind of. We tried to make a mango mochi New England last year. And it was like, it's a good idea in theory, but like, it's really hard to hit those flavors. Like, the mango was fine, the New England was fine. It's really hard to get like mochi flavor. And I didn't want to just like throw vanilla in it and be like, oh, it's whatever, mango mochi. Right. So we added some, I mean, this is off the topic of fruit, but we added some red puffed rice from BSG that did not add, I mean, it was obscenely expensive. And it only came in 25-pound bags, and it didn't really provide any like riciness, if you'll let me use that word.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Sam, at your size, are you allowed to be as impulsive as the other two, or is it kind of more calculated on your end?
Yeah, we don't pilot brew or anything, so we just kind of pick a style and give it hell. We've been doing it for a while now, so everything gets gridded and categorized, so we know X amount of beers in the summer, those are going to be more tropical, effervescent, and then in the winter you're going towards more berry production or stuff like that. So we do kind of still screw around a little bit, not as much as I'd like to anymore, but since we're so big, the losses or the misses at bat hurt all the more, so we're a little bit more calculated. We did do a mochi mango cream gluten-free beer, and we put a lot of puffed rice into that, and we put soft serve vanilla ice cream, which gave it that mochi-esque, very like airy mouthfeel. We were pretty happy with it. We did it with Great Notion Brewing, and they know some stuff about fruit too, so it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. And then do you run into problems at your size? Do you run into problems at like can you get the fruit you need at all the time?
So it's kind of a double-edged sword too. So we can like kind of swing hammer pretty heavily sometimes and be like, we need 45 drums of sudachi. Like, I think we made a lychee beer just a couple months ago. And we were the only broker of lychee in the country. So we shipped a whole container here. Like, okay, well, half of it is going to go in this. And then the other half we piecemealed out to some fruit companies, actually.
Okay.
And it was good and bad. I mean, the reception people were like, the reviews were either 5 stars or 1 star. And they're like, wow, this tastes like just like lychee. Or they'd be like, I don't know what lychee is, 1 star. So, and like, I had to confess too, I didn't even know. So I had to go out to the Asian grocery store and just buy lychee, and like, eating those things is an event in itself too. So, it's fun to play around with that, but also sometimes, we can't get, since we're so large, we need X amount of fruit, and they'll be like, that's going to take us a whole year to make. So,
right. That's funny about lychee. I don't think I've ever had lychee either. Maybe some like little lychee candies or something like that.
They're a clear, translucent kind of thing with a seed in the middle. It kind of looks like if you it's pretty gross, but if you like suck the caramel off of Almond Joy, and then like the almond is the nut and the outside is the lychee. So
it is funny because I think we all have used the term lychee. I think it's a common term in beer, whether it be like even just like hop profiles or something of like some of these hops. And like, sometimes I do call people out. It's like, have you ever had lychee? And they're like, no, but like, I'm told this is what it tastes like. So I just use that term.
And that makes it kind of fun in the brewing industry too, I forget what I was watching. It was some sort of quiz show or trivia, or maybe it was a cooking show, and they pulled out fruits and they're like, does anyone know what this is? And I would be on it. And I'm like, wow, I guess I know my fruits now because of this job. I wouldn't have thought that would be important, but
Well. And Aaron, how is your process in choosing all of this? Are you allowed to be, are you allowed to just kind of experiment, or is it kind of very calculated where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a little of both. Like I said, with our sour beers, with our barrel aged stuff, our second location is called Monday Night Garage, so we always call those the garage beers. Bottles only, limited distro, if they're distributed at all. And with that stuff, to an extent, we can kind of do whatever we want and try it and see if it works, or just go after what we really want to make. On the other hand, for the larger releases, anything that's going to see heavy distribution in grocery stores and that sort of thing, we'll certainly trial it first on a smaller scale, maybe a 30 barrel batch before we go up to, we'd probably typically do 240 barrels for a seasonal release. That stuff is discussed, is researched. We'll look at sales data. We'll see what products are selling well, and we'll try to find something that the consumers want that will fit into a spot in the market, but also something that's not the exact same as what someone else is making. So something that will distinguish us a little bit. But those would be less risky and wild fruit decisions for the most part. As far as how do we decide when to make a fruit beer or what fruit beer to make, it's just, it feels like common sense. Like, I think it's kind of an unspoken thing where it's like, we haven't done that in a while. It's time to put a new one on, or clearly, like in the summer, we're probably going to be toying with that stuff more. Or it's just a wild idea. We have some beer left over from a given project, and we decide to make a radler out of it and just see how it does, see what we can learn.
Okay. And then like for you, so for your blackberry lemon, is it Dr. Robot that's
Yeah,
That's that beer.
that's the one.
So for that one, because that's a core beer, you were saying like you just have to make a ton of it. Do you ever run into like issues trying to get like the blackberry or anything like that
Yes.
for something that you're producing that much?
Yeah, frequently blackberry in particular has been really difficult to find. I think there was a big problem with the harvest. It must have been a year and a half ago or 2 years, and prices just jumped dramatically. And we really had to look at whether, and there weren't a lot of other suppliers that could get it to us in the form we needed and in the quantities we needed on a regular basis. So we stuck with the same supplier. I think prices jumped. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I think it was 400% or something overnight, and then prices kept creeping up. Yeah, so it was a dramatically different beer cost, and profit on that beer. So we had to really look heavily at whether or not we were going to continue to make that, but it was such a good seller that we were able to actually supplement that with a little bit of blueberry juice, which was much more affordable. And it didn't really change the color or the flavor profile that much at all. And it still gave us the amount of sugar we wanted to add that we knew was going to ferment down to a given point. And we were able to keep that product pretty much the same with only a little bit of extra cost added to it.
Okay. So were you able to keep the price point the same, or is that something that you had to like reevaluate kind of pricing?
I mean, that's been the big struggle is it doesn't feel like we have a lot of wiggle room with pricing on core 6-packs, especially stuff that people are used to paying $6 a pint for or $12 a 6-pack for.
Right.
It felt like we would probably price ourselves out if we charged $15 a 6-pack, which would have been a start, toward making that beer more profitable with what we had to pay for blackberry juice. So, yeah, I think that's just an unfortunate position when you're trying to compete with people that are selling $12 6-packs. Is you don't want to price yourself out of that category. So that's usually a last resort for us. We try to price competitively, but in line with whatever else is doing, and figure out where to make it up elsewhere. Really.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I guess next topic, trends. So we have smoothies, seltzers, RTDs. I guess like how do you determine what trends you're gonna hop onto, and which ones you're not, and when do you decide it's too late to maybe hop on a trend? I mean, we have now we're hitting over 9,000 breweries in the U.S. So it's hard to be different. It's hard to be innovative, and at the same time, we all have to be innovative. So how are you choosing that? How are you innovating, but how are you choosing like what trends to follow? Because I have worked at some breweries where seltzers, I was at the forefront of that. I was trying to make seltzer when there was no information, and then been at breweries where they go, oh, seltzers will never catch on, and then here we are, whatever it's been, 5-6 years later, and they're holding strong. So, and we can start with you, Aaron, on that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as following trends, like you have to pay attention. Or at least we do. I mean, I think that when it comes to deciding what we're going to do, it's like, is there a place for us in the market with this product? When it came to seltzers, we really felt like we needed to get in because it was a big potential source of sales for us, and also it was the ability to offer a gluten-free option, something non-beer related in our tap rooms. So it made sense to get into seltzers, but then we really had to think about how do we differentiate ourselves. So we're just using real fruit, This is going to be 100% natural fermented.
Ooh.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Labor of love for us. As far as the other things, it's like, yeah, is there room in the portfolio? Can we do this well? Can we assimilate this product into our process in a smart, efficient, high quality way? So we haven't jumped into RTDs yet, but it's certainly something we're interested in. We've just started distilling at our breweries, so we're offering liquor in our tap rooms, and we're bottling a bunch of different kinds of booze. So RTDs seem like they might be the next logical step, but we're sort of figuring out how we would go about that.
Okay. Are you just distilling at your main location, or and would that be distributed, I guess, because you're in multiple states, or is it just like at all your locations? Are you going to have to put it in different states so you can go in between? Like how does that work? I don't know if I've ever really thought about that.
Yeah, so at least in Georgia, if we have the equipment at both of our Georgia locations, then we can sell and serve at both of those. As far as across state lines and our other locations in Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina, each of those is a little bit different. We already serve alcohol and have an alcohol license at our Birmingham and Nashville locations. So I think it's pretty easily to assimilate that, but I actually don't know all of the details. But it's been a pretty smooth process, just kind of waiting for the paperwork to go through, and boom, we're a distillery.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sam? Like how are you? I would say like y'all are kind of on the forefront of innovation in a lot of things, but how do you choose what you're going to go all in on and what you're going to kind of say, we'll wait this one out and see how it goes?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because I think I remember when we were talking about doing seltzers in 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, there was some apprehensiveness, and we were like, ooh, the seltzer game, I don't understand it. Like that's a fad that's going away. And so conversations that took place at Untitled Art were, well, how do we do it, but do it our way? Like what are all these Truly and White Claws missing? And we're like, well, they're missing a lot of flavor. And so that's where we decided we were going to pour just a ton of real fruit in. And that was really well received, and we were very proud of that product. So it worked out pretty harmoniously. And then we've done other projects where, like, we've done a wine, which it was just a low carbonated wine, and that wasn't received as well. And I don't know if our heart was fully in that, because we're not wine makers or wine masters. Right. But we've moved on. We've moved on to RTDs, and we were like, how are we going to make an RTD the Untitled Art way? And we're like, well, we got to go super smoothie, super thick on it, and real vodka. So that's what we did, and it's been working out pretty well. We just launched that maybe 2 or 3 months ago, but it's doing pretty well. And so basically, to answer your question, I think it's when we identify where there's something we can do well, or where there's a gap in the market that we ourselves are even desiring. That's where we kind of strike.
And are y'all making your own vodka there?
No, unfortunately, that would be really cool. Octopi looked into a distiller's license, and I think there were more headaches than it was going to solve. So the solution was kind of, let's just focus on every other type of beverage, and we'll just do that. And then we'll just buy this vodka from a particular place that we had worked with before.
Okay, awesome. And then what about you, Garrett? Like, how are you deciding how to innovate, what trends to jump on, what trends you're not going to jump on? I know, like, sometimes in a tap room, it could just be easier to just, well, we're really good friends with this brewery or this distillery, so we'll just carry their product and just see how it does. So what's your decision making there?
I feel like that was an informed comment. So we right now we buy a seltzer from Seven Sun up in Columbus. We had been buying. I don't remember what seltzer we were buying, but we moved onto theirs. They do something similar where it's a lot of real fruit. I had wanted to jump in the seltzer game, like kind of when it started to pop off a couple of years ago. But the head brewer that we employed at the time, he was not into it, and kind of was like, if we start making these, I'm probably gonna start looking for another job, which wasn't like a huge deal to me. I didn't really want to do them that badly anyway, but it kind of was like, well, if you don't want to do it and I don't really want to do it, and that probably means that we're not going to do it very well. So we kind of just like passed on it. In hindsight, I wish we had done it, and now it kind of feels like if we haven't done it, if we haven't made a seltzer, we're probably too late to the game. So we obviously just buy the stuff from Seven Sun. But right now, I mean, like if we're looking at fads to jump in on smoothies, I don't see it like being something that we're going to go like really do a shitload of smoothies and like fill the market with them. But we'll continue to do we have a little 4-barrel unitank that we can fruit and we fruit into and then package off of, and we'll continue to do our little smoothie series every once in a while. We haven't done it in a couple of months, so we'll probably do another one here soon. And that's how we'll stick with it with fruit. And the best thing any brewer can do is keep up with the trends and see what everybody's doing. We won't get like as you know, Spencer, it's not super easy to get the license to do RTDs. So I don't think we're going to do anything like that, but we sell high noons in the tap room. So we kind of have our bases covered as much as possible. And I'll just keep an eye on what's going on out in the market and see what happens. And if I need to do something as it comes along, then that's what I'll do.
Yep. Yeah. I'm kind of in a similar boat. We're buying seltzers from other local places here and even a cider from another like very local place. So it's one of those things that like I think sometimes the same way where I'm like, man, I've been at breweries and I've been that seltzer brewer where like that's all I was producing, and then I get here and we weren't, and you're kind of like, well, I don't know how much longer it's going to last. Like, do we do it, or sometimes it is just easier just to just support somebody else that's local or in your friend group, and just go from there. Sure. And then what about you, Zach? Like how do y'all decide how to hop on trends, what trends to do, what trends not to do?
Sure. I think like being like like a small size, like there's like a level of like nimbleness. We've like definitely kind of just like let the seltzer like trend like pass us by pretty completely. I think we've done like 2 or 3 in like the 5-year span we've been a brewery. It's just not something that's super well received like in Pittsburgh, and there's like a couple places, not breweries, but like other like distillers and stuff that do it well, that kind of have the market locked down. So we just kind of acquiesce to them and have them on tap. And it's all good. But like trend wise, I think that how we kind of like made our name was like a sour producing brewery. And so now there's kind of this like need to like up like the ante, like constantly like produce like something like a little like weirder and like more intense than the last beer. So that's like been like a challenge, and always kind of like trying to find like different ingredients that allow us to do that. Like we like lean pretty heavily into like soft serve like ice cream now for like a lot of our sours, which has been fun, if not like challenging to get to kind of like work with. But yeah, that's kind of been I think like our big challenge, but also like a big driver of us is like what is like more kind of like intense and more kind of like challenging and something that hasn't been like seen, that you can then like easily replicate on like a small scale. And so that's kind of what drives us.
Okay. Awesome. It looks like we're coming actually to an end. That was a very quick hour, it seemed like. I'll go down the list. Do you have anything last minute that maybe we didn't mention that you'd like to share real quick? Or any advice you'd like to give out to the general public on fruit or anything like that? And we can start with you, Zach.
Sure. I really like using freeze-dried fruit. I don't know if that's like something other people have like experimented with, but especially with like blueberries and stuff, where like all the flavor that you're gonna get is from like the skins and like, you know, the tannininess of like you're not the fruit itself doesn't really have any flavor, so like getting like all like that water out and just getting like those compressed skins and like the sugars, like that's been a lot more expressive, and that's like a fun little thing that we'll like throw in as kind of like an added component. It's kind of like expensive, so it's a little cost prohibitive, but it's like
I actually found with strawberry, freeze-dried strawberry, just because strawberry is just a hard fruit to get all that flavor in. It's just you just got to use so much. So I've definitely used it in the strawberry and some banana also. Just using like the freeze-dried banana works really well.
Like banana chips are good. Something like
yeah. What about you, Garrett? Any last minute things you wanna say before we get off here?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that like, especially in the last couple of years with shortages, is like don't get stuck on one producer. We had always used Oregon fruit for like everything. Like the first 4 years we were open, I don't think I bought fruit from anybody else unless I was absolutely desperate. And then we kind of started diversifying who we were buying from, just because out of necessity, and it's really helped. We found some different fruits that we'd never been able to use before. We found a better source of specifically dragon fruit. That was one fruit that Oregon Fruit didn't supply. I had a supplier in like New Jersey that shipped it across country frozen, and it was an absolute disaster. The truck broke down one time, and we didn't have fruit for like 2.5 weeks.
Oh wow!
It was just sitting in Missouri waiting to be shipped to us. But yeah, I mean, that would be my biggest advice, is like diversify. Sorry, the dogs just came upstairs. Diversify your supplier, because you never know what you might be able to get.
Yep. And how about you, Sam? Any last minute little tidbits?
No, I don't. Pretty intelligent panel. Yeah.
Awesome. And Aaron, anything last minute you wanna say before we get off of here?
Oh no!
Oh, we lost your audio again.
he's like telling us like the key to like a happy life.
All right. Well. All right. Well. Sorry, Aaron. Maybe we can explore that at another time. I do want to thank everybody again for being a part of this. Thank you all for doing this, and thanks Craft Beer Professionals and Andrew. I want to thank AFP for giving me this opportunity to kind of lead this, and thanks to everybody watching. I definitely will be keeping in touch with all of you, and anybody watching. If you have any questions, comments, anything being said, feel free to reach out to me or Lock27 or AFP. And I'm just going to go ahead and say you can reach out to any of these guys too. Just email their brewery, or stalk them on Instagram, or whatever you got to do there. And then that's it. So awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys. Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Enjoy the week.